You know that feeling when you remember something embarrassing that happened a long time ago and you were just as embarrassed about it now as the moment when it happened? Hannah and I had been dating for about 6 months, and I used to do quite a bit of walking at the time. I had all the gear, like even the waterproof trousers. And the embarrassing moment is something I continue to relive when we see her parents. So much so, Han has tried throwing them out. And it had been snowing in Malden, and I was taking Han back from Liverpool back home, and she mentioned that there'd be probably enough snow to do some sledging. Now, like you guys, living in Liverpool means that you barely get any snow, and I had never seen enough to go sledging before. So I take the gear I think I need, we get to Malvern, and there's loads of snow. So I put on the waterproof trousers, and I'm thinking, I'm driving home in a couple of hours, and I don't want to be soaked. But Han and her family just thought it was hilarious that I'm there with my waterproof trousers and have made jokes ever since. Like, it's a surprise that she even agreed to marry me at this point. And maybe you've been there when it comes to dating and relationships too. Maybe things didn't work out with someone you liked, or maybe you can't seem to get the potential significant other's attention, or maybe you've never been in a relationship at all. And regardless, the next couple of weeks are for all of us. While few people use the term dating to describe romantic relationships, there are a few other ways that you might categorize them. Like maybe you're just hanging out, maybe you're talking, or you're speaking, or you're seeing each other. Or maybe you're just still trying to convince your best friend that you are with somebody else are just more than friends. Or maybe you're just trying to prove that you are friends. Just so we're all on the same page, we're going to use the term dating and define it as being in a relationship, however you want to label it, where the other person means more to you than just being a good friend. And we want to date well. And some of you might be not interested in talking about this personal topic because maybe you're in a situation that doesn't have a label, and you're both good with that, and you don't need to be exclusive, you're just having fun, and you're thinking, why? Because this makes just things so much more complicated. Maybe dating is so far from your priorities right now, and you have goals and ambitions and feel like dating would just get in the way. And you're thinking, why worry about something that isn't that important right now? Or maybe you look around your world right now and there isn't anyone that you'd be interested in dating, but you're open to it, but no one comes to mind, and you're thinking, why obsess over a lack of viable options right now? Or maybe you know exactly who you'd want to date, but they're just not interested in you right now, and you're thinking like, where are you, God? Now, I'm just messing with that last one, but regardless of how you would rate your interest in dating, from single forever all the way to waiting for your soulmate, chances are favourable that a lot of us are going to go on a date at some point in our lives. And if you're going to have a relationship one day, what we're talking about today can actually give you the best shot at having a great experience when you do. So let me be honest with you, the Bible doesn't actually directly talk about dating the way we're thinking about it today. Despite a lack of explicit, crystal clear instructions, there are still important and helpful things that we can learn from scriptures when it comes to dating as well. Like today we're going to be looking at some practical section of the Old Testament called Proverbs. It's this entire book that is dedicated to wisdom. And by wisdom we mean knowing what is good, right and best given a particular set of circumstances. Most of these Proverbs were written by a guy named Solomon, who we learn about in the Old Testament. And when Solomon was about 20 years old, God gave Solomon an immense amount of wisdom. And it should be noted that wisdom was something Solomon asked God to give him, because it was important to Solomon. And while Solomon was wiser than most, he wasn't always perfect. And just like some of us, Solomon learned some things the hard way. And one bit of wisdom Solomon records in Proverbs 24 seems like a lesson he learned the hard way. It says, put your outdoor work in order and get your fields ready. After that, build your house. I know you're probably asking, what does that have to do with dating? And I'll tell you in a minute, but just go with me with this for a second. Have you ever seen a big tractor clearing out a piece of land before something is built on it? Like, this happens after the blueprints and the architectural plans are created and after the land is cleared and foundation is laid, all while supplies and tools are gathered. And all this happens before the house is built. I think that is the wisdom in what Solomon writes here. Wisdom that can be relevant to us today. Prepare your land so that you can build a strong and stable house. And then get to work building your strong, stable house. A big part of building a house happens before the walls ever go up. But you're probably just starting to building immediately. You don't want to skip some steps or move too quickly. When we take the time to build the best foundations that we can, we have the best potential to move forward well. Like, preparation is the foundation on which success is built. And while that sounds good, we all have times when we struggle to do this. We know that we have a big test coming up, but we don't study until 10 minutes before. We know that we need to get certain grades to get into college that we want, but we don't start taking our grades seriously until the middle of our last year. Or we know we have a big show coming up next week, but we don't remember to rehearse until the few days before. Or we know that tryouts are coming out for a football team, but playing Xbox becomes more fun than practicing football. Like, we all do it, there's no shame in that game, and sometimes it can be smart to look for the easy route. But life doesn't always work like that. If we want things to turn out to their full potential, which we all do when it comes to dating, then we need to take the best steps we can in the right order. So how in this world do fields and construction and builders apply to dating? Well, prepare yourself so that you can build a strong and healthy relationship. Then get to work building a strong and healthy relationship. This can make all the difference in the world when it comes to dating. Relationships can play a big role in shaping who you become, and whether things work out with that special someone or you eventually go your separate ways. The decision you make while you date can actually shape you in the future. I like to think about it like this. Who you date may be temporary, but who you become is lasting. We are laying the foundations of who we become today. Our character, our faith, and our choices. And yes, God is always in the process of helping us grow and change. But if we want to have the best dating potential that we can, it starts with us taking a hard look at ourselves, instead of just waiting on the other person. We can lay foundations becoming the kind of person we want to be, whether or not this dating thing works out with the person we want. Like, take a look at these words written about love by the Apostle Paul. He was the person who wrote the most of the New Testament and one of the most influential leaders in the early church. And he said this: love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It's not irritable and it keeps no record of wrong. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful and endures through every circumstance. Isn't this what we all want when we think about love? Most of us hear that list and think, okay, if I could just find someone like that, then things will go perfectly. And while that might be true, sometimes it's a lot easier to think about someone else instead of thinking about ourselves. What does 1 Corinthians 13 mean for us? It means that before we start looking for these incredible qualities in someone else, maybe we should focus on becoming the kind of person right now. Learning to live that way and becoming the type of person Paul writes about here is helpful whether you are dating or not. It's like preparing a piece of ground before building a house. Being patient, kind, humble, and make everything better and stronger and healthier. Our friendships, our families, and our potential dating life. And we tend to think that when we meet the right person, we'll just magically treat that person well. But the truth is, when it comes to loving someone well, it takes practice. And we don't become patient and kind overnight. And we won't become the kind of patient and kind by accident. It takes effort, it takes preparation. And regardless of where you are at when it comes to dating, just know that it is never too late to work.